pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming. Trust you've read the minutes of the last meeting. Looking for a motion. First by Legislator Lockwood, second by Legislator Holst. Committee reports, Bunner Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Committee reports, Bunner Street project presentation.
He's not here yet.
All right, we'll move on. Let's go to the resolutions then. IT1, resolution authorizing budget modification, central services supplement existing capital project to fund computer upgrades. Looking for a motion to discuss.
Second.
Once by Legislator Yurden, once by Legislator Martino. Open for discussion. Resolution authorizing budget modification.
Go on,
It's funds for kind of regular replacement of workstations as they age out and rotate through them over a 3-4 year period where we do a portion of the fleet. We've got a relatively small number here market for replacement. About $600 or maybe $700 for a laptop, and we do some laptops. They're more like 1,000 to 1,200 depending on how they're provisioned.
So we're just adding to the capital project that you already got going on?
Correct, yeah. And I think if I need more money, say for summer next year, later in the year, I would come back with a request to supplement for, the next group of machines we would replace.
Okay, a motion to move. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution IT2, resolution establishing the capital project number E0323, Oswego County Airport, electric vehicle and charging station acquisition and installation. Move it. First by Legislator Lockwood, second by Legislator Holst. Open for discussion.
So this is the second half of the special legislative meeting that I'm sure you all have not forgotten me for. This is just to establish the capital projects. We've entered into the agreement with the FAA and the state. It'll be 2 electric pickup trucks, 4-wheel drive, with charging stations and the installation of the charging stations. 90% federal, 5% state, 5% local. So our local share is $8,316 for 2 pickup trucks. They are electric. There's a lot of there's 2 sides to the electric story. I think this really gives the county a good chance to see if they're a good fit for us. We can get into it cheap and we can track it and we can see how well they work out for us.
And 4-wheel drive.
And 4-wheel drive. You can't put a plow on an electric truck yet. So.
Oh, you don't have to plow the airport, do you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Ever snows there. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moved? Yeah, I'm going to finish the resolutions, then we'll go back to you. IT3, resolution to amend to add additional equipment to capital project number 0423, highway equipment capital project.
Move it.
Legislator Martino, second by Legislator Walpole. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. IT4, resolution authorizing budget modification, building and grounds, gas and heating fuel. First by Legislator Martino, second by Legislator Walpole. I need to open for discussion.
I think we're going to be about 60,000 short in that line this year, so that's why we're asking.
Good. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution IT5, resolution authorizing budget modification, buildings and grounds overtime. Motion to discuss. First by legislator Walpole, second by legislator Martino. Yurden, sorry. Okay, sound of it. Okay, open for discussion.
Nobody's taking comp time anymore. Everybody's just taking overtime if they have to work the extra hours. So once again, that line is short.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. IT 6, resolution awarding professional services contract engineering service proposal, Bristol Hill Cell 5 Engineering Services for design and bidding. Moved for discussion, first by legislator Walpole, second by legislator Lockwood. All in favor?
Aye.
And open for discussion.
This is for the next cell, the landfill. This is the engineering portion, you get into bidding documents together so we can put it on the street for bidding. I want to try to have it up at mid-January. I've got Jillian Blake here, she's going to discuss the landfill when I go last.
Yeah.
But
I know.
this is basically the engineering documents out. When we get the bids back and we evaluate them, then I'll come back and ask to establish a capital project for the funds we need.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. IT 7, resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Department of Solid Waste Insurance Recovery Fund to Department of Solid Waste Fund Balance. Open. Move for discussion, first by legislator Walpole, second by legislator Yurden. Open for discussion.
This is just the insurance money coming back from the boiler to put into the fund balance, about $125,000.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Did you want to do this before we? Okay, let's go back to, Runner Street project presentation by Mr. Updike.
Okay. Can you help me back to the? Sure. To the fund balance. Do you have a PowerPoint presentation?
No, I just have a spreadsheet that we could look at as what the alternates.
Could you put it on this real quick? I can explain it.
Sure.
We'll just take a second.
Yep.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Actually, we're getting set up. That's what I'm thinking. Got a bid here for snow removal, operating budget, motion, no,
I think we'd like to table it.
table it, okay?
Yeah, we have some issues that we have to iron out.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to table that.
Second motion.
First by legislator Walpole, second by legislator Twist. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. We'll keep going on here. Boy Scouts of America, Seward County Airport, they want to, I did see that. No, never did. Cell phone request from the Sheriff's Department. Hey, I don't have anything on it.
you have the details on that? I only have the cell phone request from the sheriff's office. I know we spoke on it before.
Yeah.
And it was a request for the CID investigator.
For new investigators.
Yep.
They all have cell phones.
I'd like to make a motion for the request.
First by legislator Walpole, second by legislator Martino. Motion to discuss. All good? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, I did Boy Scouts.
All right, that one I have. Boy Scouts looking to use the trams. Brandon?
So this is the annual, they've been doing it 3 or 4 years now. We bring the trams out to Camp Woodland and Constantia. They have a bunch of the scouts go through, they do like a haunted hay ride.
That's an annual thing.
It's an annual thing, we've got all of their insurances, the letter request.
Make a motion to approve them. First by legislator Walpole, second by legislator Martino. All in favor? And let's see, the last
Before we
one.
get into the updates, you want to do the certification?
Yes, let's do that.
All set on my presentation?
Yes, thanks. Sorry I was a couple minutes late, I apologize for that. So we took bids for the Bunner Street project. We had 4 prime contracts, and there was 4 alternates, with 2 of those alternates being unit price alternates. So there's no value identified yet because we'd have to identify square footages to apply those unit costs to, and then that would give us a total. So I think in terms of the award, if there's going to be a recommendation coming out of the committee to go to legislature, then I would suggest that we table the 2 unit cost alternates until we can determine what the desired square footages for those alternates are. And then if we look at the base bid, let me try to see this number better here. Base bid only, with no alternates, is this total here, is this 6.2 million and change. And then we can go through and actually select which of the other 2 alternates. And I believe the electrical contract is affected if you choose one or both of those. It can change who the low bidder is for the electrical contract, so it affects award. So I guess it comes down to what the county's budget is for the project and how much you want to spend. And then I have another sheet that shows some of the incidental costs or soft costs that are associated with the project that are not prime contractor related. So inserting just the base bid numbers, no alternates, and planning for a 7% construction contingency for any unforeseens, any county requested scope that might get added during the course of the project. Basically anything that's not in their contract in the base bid drawings would be either an allowance or change order that we would work from that contingency budget for to maintain the overall budget moving forward. The bottom section of this budget sheet is the incidental costs, or soft costs as they're sometimes called. It's your architect's fee, LaChase Construction, your construction manager, legal, and some FF&E, which is fixed furniture and equipment that are typically outside of the contractor's contracts. So if we look at the base bid, so I'm sorry, just scrolling back up. This is the base bid number from the other spreadsheet from the bid tabs, with the construction contingency, with the soft costs that we've worked through in owners, architects, and construction managers meetings that we've had. Again, these are just budget values. Our total project is $7.1 million with, again, just base bid. And then the value of the alternates, if we were to take both alternates, those low bidders' value is about $407,000. So it pushes us up to about $8.1 million for the total overall project if you were to take both alternates. But that doesn't have a value in that for the unit cost, those 2 unit cost alternates that I mentioned, which we would need to understand how many rooms and how much square foot area the county desires to improve with those unit costs, because there were several. There's a 5 or 6 unit cost for each alternate. So that's something that I think we'll have to identify down the road. And if we want to put a budget number to that, we could do that probably before the legislature meeting, or if we want to establish some sort of just budget line for that work, say 50,000 or 100,000, and just say all we're going to do is what we can afford to do that. Or you can ask the contractor to hold their pricing. Typically with New York State procurement laws, you have 45 days. The contractor has to hold their price on their bid for 45 days, and that includes the alternate bid prices. So we have that window of time, and then if you request of your low bidders or even your awarded bidders beyond after you award, you can ask them if they'll honor that alternate pricing, or for this value, for these 2 alternates that we're discussing that are kind of arbitrary right now. We could ask them to hold those unit costs, and then we could go through a scenario and work with the county and identify the exact square footages and areas that you want those improvements on, and then we'd be able to determine a value, and then we could go back to the contractor and add that to their scope as a change order. So I know I've thrown a lot at you. Any questions or yes?
So the unit cost you're talking about here, are we talking about the existing building,
Yes.
not the project renovation, but an existing building totally?
Correct. Yep. So alternate
So-
2. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So my first thought would be, I'd hate to see this delayed, this contract, I mean, it's been a long time anyways, and I think for the delay of another 45 days, I don't think it's beneficial to the project or anything else. So I would think that those unit prices, my opinion, should have been developed way before this time. So unless you're going to delay the project, that's my opinion.
My only concern with delaying is it may risk some of the hearing money that is available to pay for the public defender's portion of
So
this.
that's where you're going.
So I need to request, I need to give them a date that, and a value of this, what portion of this project will be done from the public defender, and then make sure that that money is still going to be available by that date.
That's what I'm saying, if you see the project delayed, we can avoid doing it, you know what I'm saying?
But I think, Rick, the alternate 2 is not for the new portion, it's for the existing portion.
So I thought,
It's for
Is it?
the health department
Yeah.
bureau.
Okay.
It's for that portion, and then alternate 3 is for the exterior that really needs
Yes.
to
Correct,
be,
which that needs to be
that needs to be
updated.
done, yeah.
So it's the
Go ahead.
7.7, or I guess it's the 8. Is that including all of them, all 3?
Yes. Yep. So I just did a simple line at the end of the spreadsheet, which is all based on the bare minimum, the base bid.
Where did you come up with the numbers for these? And so we had bids at 6.3 and 6.8.
Yep. So those bids are what's right here. So those are
Okay.
our bid results for GC, MC, PC, and EC, and that totals the 6,395. We take a 7% for construction contingency to give us dollars to work through issues that are discovered during the project, and then you add the value of the incidental costs, the soft costs to support the project at 768, and that gives you this.
So, but now up, when you start the soft costs, go
Yep.
up a little bit.
Yep.
The 202, okay, I think most of that's been paid already. I'd have to look.
Yeah, if you, so this would still be all inclusive of the cost of the project. If you've made payments, or obviously with your architect you've made payments, with LaChase we have, I think, 1 or 2 invoices in, because our contract started at the time of bidding.
Right.
So those funding sources is kind of independent from this budget sheet. So if you have multiple funding sources, we can typically put those in here. So if there's going to be an amount that's coming from county, if there's going to be an amount coming from the state for the public defender's office, we can put those in, and they can be.
Well, what I'm saying is some of it's already been paid. We started our capital project, so we would add to it, so we could back some of that money out.
We would just need to know how much to add to it.
Right.
And part of that would come from the financing or fund balance, building renovation, and part of it would come from the whole hearing money. It would all go into the capital project, and it would all be paid out of the same project.
Okay.
We just need to know how much to add to the capital project.
So we have some in there right now.
That's paying the bills now.
That's paying the bills now. So,
What's in the, what do we need to do today?
What do, I can't remember what we put in there.
I can't either.
Well, it would have been based on the RFP result.
It would have been based on the RP and then perhaps your RP too. So
Yeah.
I would think we had enough to cover both of those.
Right.
So what do we need to do today?
And then
Wait,
you were
how
going
are
to decide
you-
if you wanted to bond or,
Yeah, we got a preliminary bond rate schedule prior to having these bids. So now I gotta go back to fiscal advisors and find out what it would be to bond versus what we do in-house.
And also whether that bond issuance includes other items.
Holly, are you looking for a bid award today, or is this to inform the committee so that they can?
well, we don't have any of the proper paperwork.
Okay.
So what I was hoping for, because we want this project to start, is that if you say, okay, we're gonna make a decision, or we're gonna have a special meeting. I know this is a bid, but I'm thinking you wanted to go to the full legislature because of the,
Yeah. Technically,
we don't,
you could say yes or no, but with
I know
our
that.
tradition and our practice, with something this big, we want the committee in it, right? And the
Right.
legislature.
want everybody on board.
Right.
So I didn't know if we talked about it and after the presentation, we decide on our budget. I mean, he has to have the budget so we can figure out who to award to. Because the electrical part will change based on whether or not we do the base bid or the base bid and alternates. The others will stay the same. And it would be nice if we could do even a special meeting just before the ledge meeting, go to the ledge, get it done, so that we can move the project.
So it'll give us time to get some answers from fiscal advisors, look at our own finance, and then, and for the legislators to discuss it, and then make a decision at this point.
Yeah, because we couldn't do any awards. I couldn't come with awards because we didn't have a budget.
Right, and it's important to know, having evaluated all these bids, is it your recommendation that the low bidders meet the responsive bid and they're okay to go?
Yes, we've gone through and conducted bid analysis or de-scope type interviews with each of the two lowest bidders, responsible bidders. We haven't ruled anybody out or made any recommendations based on any concerns from those conversations. You will notice with the results that I just want to point this out. So you'll notice with the GC results, there's a significant difference in the two bids. And it's kind of hard to have outliers with only two bids. You don't have like a grouping to kind of give you a gut feeling that somebody's off base. Obviously, PAC is a local contractor. They're very hungry for this job. They want this job. They it's in their backyard. They're an Oswego County contractor. And we've gone through and had several conversations with Paul Castaldo, the owner of PAC, and he stands by his number. He's good with it. He doesn't think they have any math errors, and they didn't miss anything in his mind. So in talking through with Booley, obviously they don't have to share their strategy with us. They just have to answer our detailed questions, that they didn't forget anything, and you have this, and we kind of go through with alternates and base bid scope and significant pieces. So they didn't disclose anything to us, but all I can think is that they were chasing a more profitable job, or they looked at this as a more costly job, and PAC has strategies to try to consolidate their forces and use forces from their local position here that's going to benefit them to the tune of $3 million. Probably not, but I think that's a contractor going for a profitable job versus someone going in hard and aggressive that wants the job.
How do their timelines
Timelines are based on the substantial completion date in the documents. So there wasn't really a detailed step-by-step phasing of the project. We didn't go into that level of detail with the phasing, not knowing which pieces the county wanted delivered first. But that's something that we can work through with the awarded contractors and establish a schedule right away. And an empty building obviously doesn't hurt and makes it much more convenient for contractors, especially working through the winter. And yes, we have additions, but there's a lot of inside renovation work that keeps people busy, day shift. There's not the challenges that you will have with an occupied building and occupants and safety and all that stuff. Obviously, we have the health department there and the other side of the building, but there's availability for us to create buffers and keep that separation.
Legislature twist.
Yeah, I don't want to stall the project, but I personally would like to see some kind of hard numbers. As far as what we financially are, going to be contributing, whether that's local share or whatever. So I like the idea of whoever brought it up of having a special meeting, just so I feel more comfortable with that when we're talking.
Well, that was the whole idea.
That potential of $8 million, let's get the hard numbers in front of us, and then we can all chew on a little bit, So that's what I would say is I recommend that.
Legislator Martino.
Thank you, sir. I believe that this is more or less an overview of what's going on. And I think the whole intention was to lay out the other ideas of what to be accepted and the units and what have you. I think before the legislative meeting, we could have another meeting, because at that point, we'd be able to nail down the actual numbers, I would imagine, yes? Of what we're gonna have to put into the capital project.
We were real close anyway, it's just a matter.
Yeah, like I said, so you got another week to nail down all the numbers, have it on paper, so we can approve and bring it forth to the ledge for full approval. That's, I think, with the units and what have you, the alternate pricings, we could probably have that together by next week. Yes?
If you tell us how you want it priced out as you're taking everything, that's right, that's what we need to know.
In terms of the unit cost alternates, yeah, someone would need to establish what area, highlight it on a floor plan with the architect and say these are the areas, and then we could, take that square footage for what it totals up to and multiply it by the carpet cost, the painting cost, the rubber base cost, and all the different alternates in there. The other part of this is with unit cost, you're not forced into as a client to take those unit cost numbers, because the base bid and the other hard cost alternates, there's a set value there. With with unit cost, they might put in a unit cost that's, you know, $30 a square foot for carpet, and then you select, you know, the carpet, and we understand through the market analysis or talking to a subcontractor that it's only $15 a square foot. You don't have to pay the unit cost in the bid for that carpet. We can ask the contractor for a change order price, or we could do a mini bid over the winter and actually define that scope better. It just means the project could grow by, you know, hundreds of thousands. It's a significant scope piece if you do 10,000 or 15,000 square feet of carpet or something. But I just want to point that out, that you're not locked in and forced to use unit cost numbers from the bid. And sometimes when they put unit cost numbers into a bid, they know that it might be taken a year down the road during the project. So they have to price in a little bit of risk as to what that commodity or piece that they're pricing is going to do. Because if you do decide that lock it in at 30 and carpet goes up to 35, they have to provide 30, but we could always shop and go lower and give them a change order, not based on the unit cost. I wanted to state that because we haven't gone through and checked the pricing of Johnson Mansfield carpet number model X that was the basis for, you know, one of the unit cost lines, to see what the actual install price is. You know, we'd have to go through an estimating exercise to determine that and make, you know, a educated recommendation to you.
Legislator Wolf.
Yeah, I think it's important, like when you pointed out the two contractors, as there was a significant difference in the two. One of the things with the local contractor, and I'm familiar with this, when it comes to your labor force, they already know what they're familiar with the people here. They can sharpen their pencil a little more, so they know, so to speak, even when you call the union, all they know what they, you know what I mean? And where outside contractors usually have to allow themselves quite a bit of wiggle room, because you don't know what you're gonna get sometimes when you call to get people. You know, I think that's important to know.
I think Kristen has, she has some documents, drawings and stuff on the other side of the building. So she might already have the square footage. I can reach out. If not,
She should
she
have.
should have it. I'm pretty
You understand
sure.
at least just a maximum,
Right,
right? This
a
is the
maximum,
high end of what
yeah.
it could be if we did that whole area for each of these three things, multiply that square footage times the alternate unit costs that are listed, and you can come up with a, you know, this is the high end amount it would be if you did all of them.
Yeah, so I can reach out and see if she has that. Otherwise,
We can find out, but I know Kristen has it.
yeah. I
Seeing
thought
that
she
told and that they did all that work
Yeah.
already.
So if we get that and get that to you, then you could do the
Yep, we
unit
could
pricing.
make just a simple little spreadsheet for the two alternates and show the max costs, and then you could even play with the square footage and say, okay, if we did half it, you know, say it comes out to $400,000 and you only want to spend $200,000, we could say, okay, this is the square footage that would reach this, and you could probably do these offices. So we could make a little spreadsheet of that.
Legislator,
This is my opinion on the unit cost. At this point in time in the contract, seeing the bids are already been made, prices are already written. I can see if you included that basic thing in the basic bid process, number one, you're not going to get a low price on the unit price, period, because you don't know when it's going to be used. So it's an arbitrary number. Now, normally, all the projects I've been in, I come a lot with, usually a change order request where you can control the hourly rate, the cost of material, is a set figure, how much you mark it up. You got better control of the actual true price. So a unit price, delaying this project because we don't have good unit prices, I think is not a good move. I don't think it's not realistic, because you're not going to get you're never going to get a true number on the unit price. So why waste our time here? That's my opinion.
Mr.
Do
Davis.
we have to do it for a motion and move it to a special meeting before lunch, where we can have all the numbers in front of us, what we're looking at for total for, I mean, obviously.
no
most of the-
resolution.
I think
No resolution.
The chairman can just decide that.
Yeah.
So, so,
That's what
I mean,
we did.
I agree with, I mean, there's no reason to stall this, but I personally, I'm obviously for voting on something.
We need
Right.
more.
Especially when it came up a little higher than before, so let's just see what we're doing.
And in terms of financing it, there's enough. You have multiple choices. You could do the whole thing through fund balance, you could bond and borrow for the whole thing, or you could split the difference and do it between the two. We've got enough fund balance, we can set the project
Just
up
gotta make up our mind.
initially. And then if you want to take some time and shop around for bonding possibilities, we could always revisit that and replace fund balance with borrowed money later on. So it's, financially, we can set the project up.
So
When we
do
meet,
you want this priced out as the whole project with all the alternates? Or do you,
I think we need to decide what the alternates we want to accept are.
okay, and do we want to do that at the special meeting or now? So,
We're gonna hold a special meeting before the ledger meeting next week.
Well, I think they're looking for information
we can't give
from
you the
us
final
now.
numbers unless we know what
We
the
know
alternates are.
exactly what we want to do.
I think that, well, one possibility would be, do we have a lot of the community members are kind of new to this. Is there a good description of each alternate? So that they can
Well,
look at it?
okay, so this is just a summary.
So they know, okay.
We have down in the purchasing office, there are all the drawings for the project and a huge book about this big if anybody wants to come down and read it.
Or you could assign 2 or 3 people to look at these alternates and have a recommendation.
we could actually, I mean, Rick, but we've already, we've gone through without delaying the project. We could set it up for the dollar amount, and then the stuff you're talking about is at the tail end of the project, so we're not delaying anything. We could set it up and then choose alternates. You know what I mean?
Well, we have to award bids. So
We have to award bids. Our only problem is on the electrical part, it changes. So if you do the base bid, Rombo is the lowest. If you do the 2 alternates, then NAP is the lowest.
Well, is there any way we can just have them written out for the meeting? Then when we have this meeting, let's pick one of these 3 and move forward from that.
So
It's done.
Right now, what would you need?
What would the alternates be? Would the alternates include to bring the price higher?
Totals of all the options.
Okay, so it's something this is just a summary, so you want a more explicit or
Yeah, I want.
more detailed
Just hard numbers.
and hard numbers,
And hard
okay.
numbers, just specifically, and then what you
Here's
can
the
add.
here's the base cost, and if we do alternate 1, this is what it'll be. If we do alternate 2, this is what it'll be. You know what I'm saying? And then we can take that information with those 4 different numbers and say, okay, if we did it all, we know how much it's gonna be because we have all
So
those
really,
numbers.
the only piece we have to get for you is we have to get the square footage so we can do the unit pricing. Because everything else we already have.
Not for nothing, I don't think anybody here cares about the square footage. It's the number.
Price.
Bottom line number, and each one of them individually, you know, how much it would be for each one of them individually. And then as the committee itself, we could say, okay, here's what it is with each alternate, and then if we do it all, here it is. That's the bottom number.
So even what you have here, is basically just put the number
Just
next
put
to
a number
it.
taking the max area,
Okay,
or
Well, you
or
just-
whatever the
what you have
recommendation
here,
is.
just put the number next to it.
okay,
You know what I mean?
That's all we need.
okay.
Let's say you're,
Well, we have all the 2. We have all the low bidders with all the others.
Right, the only one we have a question on is the electrical.
Okay, and that's only one element that makes a difference. So one element changes, right? All the rest of them. we
All
take
the rest, the
low
lowest
bidders.
below,
We take
yeah.
the low bidders, so we know exactly what the dollar figure is, okay? And if we take all the elements of the base bid, then that means they're going to include the low bidder is, okay? But there's that, okay? You take all the elements of the bid, that's going to determine all the contracts.
Yes.
So we just started that.
Correct.
Okay. That will give us the total that we spend if we take all the low bidders and all the elements.
That's a good point. If I could just make a comment, the two alternates that involve all the unit pricing it only affects the general contractor, because it's just carpet, ACT ceilings, acoustical tile ceilings, the rubber base above the carpet at the wall, at the bottom of the wall, and painting existing walls. And then the other one is prepare and paint a lime wash for the existing brick, prepare and paint existing cement plaster. So those are some of the exterior ones, but it only affects the general contractor. And no matter how much you choose, well, I can't say no matter how much you choose, but I think with the amount of square footages that we're going to be talking about, we're not going to spend $3 million on these, so it's not going to get up to the second bidder for the GC. So yes, you have a good point that the decision could be made that you take the base bid and the alternates, you know what the price of that is, and then we work through the scenario with this, and this could actually be a supplemental meeting if you wanted to, like I'm saying, like the next legislature meeting in 30 days from the upcoming one, and then because you'd still be within that 45-day window, and you'd only be affecting the unit cost ones, which we may or may not want to spend the dollars that the contractor put in for those prices for those goods.
So, you know what I'm saying, we get a basis to start with.
Correct.
That's what I'm suggesting. So we'll take the base bid and all the audits. That will give us a concrete figure that if we're gonna do all the audits, and we take all the low bidders, this is what's going to be.
So base bid and alternate 1 and 4 that have fixed numbers.
Right.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Do anything on that? Make a motion to do this.
I just want to see the numbers.
Well, the numbers-
Right, but the other thing that would change, the only thing that would change, if we could still take that, that would get things
So
started.
we have those numbers right now.
Right.
Do we have a local share?
Well, I'm talking about contract cost. I'm not talking about funding.
Yeah, I get it. I saw the contract costs. I just wanted to see the local share and all the funding options. And we went through that once already. Apologize, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know anybody that kept them.
Well, I think it's all local except for the
Here,
PD's office,
Yeah.
and we don't know.
Yeah,
How
that's
much?
That's.
Right, CNS can break that out for us, and whether it's gonna cover all of the PD's costs or not, I don't know.
So then- Pat would want to see that too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us would like to see it.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't change the project, and I get what you're saying.
Right.
but-
Would it be beneficial to us to do like you're saying, approve the initial, and the only thing that can change is the latter part?
Yeah.
Benefit us to get things moving quicker?
Yeah. I mean, if we can make war, or you make the recommendation to legislature to make the official award to contractors, and we get those those letter of intent or the notice of award to the contractors, then yeah, then we start drafting
Because that's not gonna change.
their actual contracts,
The only thing that
and
would change our numbers is the others.
getting their bonds, getting their insurance in, getting submittals started, getting long lead items, any windows, steel, those type of things ordered now. HVAC systems, there's still a lot of long lead materials in construction that are affecting timelines.
So, can I make a motion to approve the base bid and alternate 1 and 4 to move to the legislature? And having said that, we may be able to have a special meeting before the actual session to approve alternate 2 and 3, if we have the proper numbers in front of us. But at least with the base bid and alternate 1 and 4, we can move it forward to the ledge to get it moving forward. And in between then and now, we can get the rest of the numbers of all that we're looking for that we want to see. Or at least we can keep the project moving forward. So I will make that as a formal motion to do base bid, alternate 1 and 4 to move it forward to the legislature.
Second by
I'll second that.
legislator, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Okay, just so so then I will get as fast as Rick and I can the other information for everybody, and then maybe do a spreadsheet and have it all, even though you're moving it forward, so you can see all the numbers.
That would be great. And I think it'd probably be helpful also not to bring that to the special meeting, but get it to everybody ahead of time so people have a chance to read through it.
Yeah.
That way if they have questions, they can.
Okay.
I totally understand where Pat's coming from, and I agree. We'd just like to see the numbers, but we don't want to hold the project up, so we can.
It's not like we're not gonna do the project. It's just,
Certainly.
Okay. That makes sense.
Excellent.
Yeah. Tomorrow we could do a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
It starts that, I mean, it's
That would
not
be
that take long, there's only,
Yeah.
things that we got to do.
Yeah.
A pretty simple
All right,
matter.
moving on. Thank you, Mr. Updike, for your
Thank you.
participation. Moving on to buildings and grounds.
An update, actually talked with Sean earlier, they're gonna be tearing the house down in Mexico at, the end of the month, or 1st of November, or around the 1st of November. Up to Camp Hollis, we have, all the heat pumps are in the building now, they're doing all the makeup area units right now. We should have heat in the building probably within a month. Camp Zerby, we, I met with the architect yesterday, and we discussed the final, pieces for the bathrooms out there, so we should have prints brought to us probably within a week or so we can get that out to bid. Our B&G roof, the roof is on. They're working on the side of the building right now. They should have that painted in a week, so we should be finishing that project up. And the only project we're not behind, but we're waiting for stuff still is the elevator project. Pieces, parts, everything's ordered. Tony's just not received anything yet.
Have any plans of you might be seeing that stuff?
We were told earlier in November, so I'm hoping we're still up. You know, that's still the date. Haven't heard anything different yet. So.
Good. Good. Highway.
Well, we're finishing up our main paving projects. We got one more big one. We're going to start October 13th. It's the ball fields. Got to get them done October 13th, 14th, and possibly 15th if we need be. I don't foresee that. I think 2 days to get it done. Yeah, we're basically doing some ditching still. I'm looking for some mowing equipment, as you've seen. That's ours is 1993, 98, I think they are. And they're falling apart, so that's why I asked for that extra long arm mower. Other than that, and then we're going to continue working on the county trail towards November, fixing the potholes, cutting back the brush, make it safe for the winter. There's that.
Okay, I gotta bring something up. Guys did a great job on 37 that I've been hearing.
Thank you.
But it's disturbing when I hear that people try to run through the flagging guard, or you guys put a culvert in and hadn't finished, and a lady demanded that she needed to cross that culvert, and it was 4 inches or 5 inches down. I mean, she's gonna get stuck on it. But you know, when I heard this, I was at a lost for words. I really was. I said, you know, somebody's gonna get killed.
Happens a lot with jungle.
I know.
It's the nature of the beast.
We got to think of a way that we can prevent this. And then another one is you had, road closed signs.
Drive right around.
Drive right around.
Mm-hmm.
probably the only way you're going to enforce that, put somebody there and you give them some overtime
Yeah,
to take it
still.
on, and even then, they're still going to
Well, the
enforce
road
it can't
closed.
be everywhere,
The
so.
road closed like at the night or early morning, it's not a big deal, but you know, you got a flagger. And honestly, I sat right there, it was a year ago, 2 years ago, just about this time they were paving from Cicero to Burton. And, you know, lots of cars, and the flagger finally gave the flag up, and the guy actually hit it with a truck. The bonus was there's a state trooper sitting at the fire hall in Burton, and he was going that same direction. Perfect. They got him. But anyways, it's just crazy. All right. Thank you, sir. No problem. Solid Waste Airport.
We're just trying to keep up with the mowing. We're hoping that it slows down a little bit. We're getting some snow removal equipment ready. And in the meantime, we have started tackling some of the fence. So grass is slowing down a little bit and give us a little bit of time to do that. We're also starting some talks with some different companies that may be looking at, nothing promising, nothing set in stone yet, but we have started some talks with some companies of some size. So hopefully, I got another meeting this Friday with one of those. So hopefully, bigger and better things.
That it? Thanks, Brandon. Central services.
Update on the camera system project. Cameras are all installed. I mentioned last meeting that there are a portion of them that need to be replaced. They're not the right camera for what we need them to do, especially from a night vision standpoint. We're working with John stakeholders on a resolution to that. We're on with this morning. Once I have some confirmation back from them writing what we talked about this morning, I'll provide some kind of update on that, the cost associated with it.
Was it a mistake in ordering the cameras? Or?
Yeah, they say that they were clear about it. We don't have the same opinion of it. The original model specified had the IR capability, the infrared capability that makes up for low light or no light. And, that was a higher resolution camera that was needed for the sites where it was being deployed. So we asked for lower resolution camera, turns out the lower resolution, 16 megapixel versus 32 megapixel. Does not have IR capability. The replacement camera is a 20 megapixel. That's what should have been specified. That does have IR capability. It's either they give us some break on this, or it gets a legal battle with them over it.
That was my next question.
Yeah. So I tried to find a resolution that doesn't, I guess, involve me getting Rich Mitchell involved, but or however we would want to do that as an organization. But part of what we're looking at is the cameras that will be uninstalled, that we could use those for replacement of. There were somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 or 70 cameras we did replace in this phase one, because they still had some life left. They were serviceable, but eventually those are going to need to be done. I did get some supplemental funding here 3 or 4 legislative cycles ago to get some money in the budget line so we could start replacing those as they failed. So there's some money that can be applied toward reinstalling these 16 megapixel cameras at other locations where they'll work. We went through and looked at the list of phase 2 cameras, calling it phase 2, where we could redeploy these devices so we get the value out of them. So that's one way to kind of mitigate this without, I think, getting in a legal battle with them.
Okay.
I'll have more detail.
We'll try to work with them, basically.
We have a 5-year agreement with them for service, which would extend on, ideally. The idea is in getting engaged with a contractor, a vendor like Johnson Controls, a big player. They would support these cameras moving forward. The service agreement, we signed a 5-year agreement with it. It's $100,000 a year. It includes replacement of cameras. They do the service work on it. Camera fails, they come in and replace it. If it fails through anything of negligence or act of God. But so the idea is we don't do a big project like this again 10 years from now. We just maintain the fleet. We have more uptime, but there is this issue though with the cameras that are not the right spec. I know what I asked them for. This morning, they're going to respond back, do some writing. I will circle back with leadership on it. I still have reservations a little bit about it. We have to through a little bit more to get back from them. I'm trying to avoid getting messy.
Okay. Perfect. Last one, solid waste.
First on my thing is the city of Oswego has asked us if we waive their fee for leaves, which I know Carl we did it last year. for either Oswego or Fulton, I forget which. And it's a bulking agent for our composting program. We get food waste in from SUNY Oswego. There's an apple processing plant and some other entities. So really, it's a bulking agent. I'd like to waive the fees just for leaves. It will assist us.
Nice motion, waive the fee.
Okay. Make motion with the first by legislator Walpole, second by legislator Twist.
Okay, we will let them know. And briefly, half the IRF is going to be shut down. It's a normal shutdown, routine maintenance starting Friday. We're working through some things over there. We're continuing forward. We approved capital project, the big one, last meeting. So B&L is starting on the intake structure for me. We're looking at the rear apron. Got some things in motion. I've got Jilly in here to do a little presentation on the landfill side that talks about our surveys that we've had done and our fill rates and what we're going.
Just a quick question before we go too far past it.
Okay.
The earth shutdown one, all the haulers been notified?
No, it's not a complete shutdown. So as we progress through it, if we need to send them to the landfill, they will get notified.
Okay.
It's only a normal maintenance, half the plant shutdown.
Okay.
And I can control a lot of that with my transfer trucks. So we're sending transfer trucks out tomorrow. They'll be coming to the landfill. So I'm hoping to minimally affect the haulers.
Excellent.
I mean, we're still going to affect them, but
Unfortunately, that's what we hear about the most.
so don't worry. Todd Butler calls me daily.
Yeah, it's not, I don't even hear from Todd, I hear it from more of the independents, so I was just curious. Appreciate
Well,
it.
and we had, I did talk to a hauler, Paul and I had talked, and we just took care of it. It's really not an issue. She's very nice on the phone, and we just talked through it. I also did, I don't know if it reached anybody's ears, Saturday, I had a resident complaint about the timing of shutting down Oswego a minute or two early. I addressed it with the troops. I actually had Jeremiah draft up a little letter for everybody with our times, and I said, look, you've got to stay open for posted times. So if anybody gets any phone calls, I'm on that one. And that's really all I can say about that. But just if you get a phone call, it's addressed. We're taking care of it.
I know.
Julian will show us her spreadsheet for the landfill fill rate.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, we had a site survey done, so I had one done this year. When was the last year? Last year or the year before?
The year before.
Okay.
So with the site having been fairly consistent as far as most stuff being ash, right, that's going there, it's a fairly consistent product. So a lot of years we've been skipping the surveys and just doing it based on waste receipts and density for estimating how much site life is left. And then doing a check every 2 or 3 years just to kind of make sure everything is accurate. Mike, suggested that we do one this year. Some of that is also just because there's been a little bit of volatility with the earth, a little more downtime with some repairs and things that had to happen, and also with like the big soil project coming from the city of Oswego. So some things that are a little bit different over the past few years. And we kind of wanted to start looking at, okay, where do we stand? Where are we going to, right? Where are we moving forward to, and what's the plan moving forward, which I think was a great suggestion by Mike to kind of just do this planning exercise, especially, with the earth and the aging of the earth, and just knowing what does that mean, right? Depending on what direction, things go there, so.
So yeah, we have the survey done. Green is good, red is not so good. It's not horrible, but we may have to do some work. Our cell 4 is here. This is where we're currently actively filling, right here. This is cell 3, and a lot of this is the old Nestle plant on the shoulder of this side. So if we have to sit down with the DEC and talk about grading and where we're going with that, which going forward, Julie and I will do. And if we have to make some adjustments on cell 3 before we close it, we'll do it. We'll take care of it. So,
But you can see here, there's quite a bit of depth here in the center, still 30 feet or so of fill left in the center. So But yeah, a little overkill. It's just the shape was a little different. It's really not.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
Yeah, it's not.
But it's not graded to regulation.
Right, it's not graded to what was approved by the DEC. That was something that just sort of snuck up, I think. But we do have some strategies for maybe going back to the department and seeing if we can keep that waste where it is and just cap it.
There's 10 or 15 feet of depth there of concrete, brick, and it's the nesting zone, basically, is where that resides. So, just so you know, that's where we're at now. You want to look at our cell 5, well, okay, yeah, let's do the spreadsheet next.
Okay. So just to give you a little bit of context of what this is we kind of went through a little bit of an exercise with historical data. So we looked at, typical waste distributions for how much is going to the earth, how much is going to the landfill, what is the weight of that waste, what is the density we're getting in place. So we used the dates between the two surveys and how much waste was taken to come up with a density for the waste in place, because all of this stuff relies pretty heavily on density of the material, particularly the waste that's bypassed from the earth and goes right into the landfill itself. Right, so the compaction is really critical, and you'll see when I show you kind of the analysis how much that matters. And I know that Mike has been working on some of that too with the new compactor and doing some improvements there. So this was just to kind of give us a baseline to start with for estimating what things will look like going forward. So under the current permitted levels, I know it's like this is a lot of stuff, but basically we're putting in there how much airspace is left, how much are you using per year, and what does that look like for when you have to start building your next cells. One of the challenges here was, I don't know if you all have seen the permit, so the subgrade for this, right, is still just based off the original permit from like the year I was born. And I'm old, so. And so we did have to do sort of a, it's still a conceptual, but a better grading plan for the floor of all these cells and where those are going to be, because the permit was a grid and some point elevations.
It was what, 90 acres were permitted for landfill originally in 1985. So on this drawing, the blue is future, cell 5 and beyond, to your right. Left of that is the existing landfill. So we're doing a very good job. We're a little more than half, and we've been in business for 40 years. The earth and the landfill operating hand in hand. So I think we're one of two counties that can say we've got 37 virgin acres of landfill left to fill.
Yep.
So
you're definitely still in a really good position, and I think you got there from the earth, right? The benefit of the earth, and that you're filling the landfill a lot slower than you would be if you were having to put all that waste in there.
And what's our local law where we're in county only?
Right. Yes, it's not a merchant facility, right? So, so we lay out some preliminary subgrades. That's each of the next cells that are permitted and can be constructed. So cell 5 would be.
Your question earlier, Paul, how many cells can we go out to 11?
Yeah.
That's our max.
And you may decide, depending on how fast you're filling or not, to combine that 10 and 11 at the end, but it just depends on how much you want to build at a time. So these are about 5.5 to 6 acre cells each, which is what we built for cell 4, which was built in 2016.
I believe so, 15, 16.
So you're looking with what you got left into maybe mid-30s, 36, 30.
Well, that's back on the spreadsheet.
Yep.
If we can keep the earth fully operational throughout the life of the landfill.
Sorry, let me find my.
Yeah, where's your chart?
Here it is. So this kind of shows the inputs that this is based on right now. So these inputs are really current conditions. So this is sort of the current average waste density you're getting, the current average split of waste between the earth and the landfill, and the county's waste, how much waste is being generated in the county and handled. We took out a couple of the outliers, all that soil from the city of Oswego, we kind of took that out a little, we didn't want to get too crazy. So this is just kind of showing how everything would work out. So what it does is it kind of shows when we're within a year of being out of space, it says we need to start working on building new cells. So this would have us building the last cell in 2043. This one is just a fake cell. It doesn't exist. So in 2043, we'd be building the last cell, sort of under today's conditions, status quo.
We'll be all done.
Yeah, I think
Some of this stuff.
some of us will be gone by 2040.
I'm pretty sure that'll be like my retirement
We've done a
project.
good job the past 40 years. We're trying to set it up to carry that further.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. And some of the founding members that were the forefront of it are no longer with us now. So they would be very happy to see where we're taking this forward.
Some of the things I know we've discussed in the past will actually slow down filling some of this, right? A lot of the steps we're taking now, if we increase what's burning or other things, so hopefully it will slow
And
down.
if I get our compaction rate up,
Right.
there's other things, grinders, so yes, there's a multi-pronged approach here I'm taking to prolong the life of this.
I've always said, you know, I've been around here all my life, and basically, like the town of Hastings, they would go on to an old gravel bed, fill it, this and that, and you go out to Seneca Meadows, and you smell the stuff. This here, whoever thought this up to me, I thought was a genius, because you burning the waste, you're getting juice out of it, and ash, and then you landfill the ash. There's no smell or no, you know.
Well, unless you're on top of it. But
Yeah, well,
for the most part,
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
I'm at the road, it's not.
I don't hear the city of Fulton complaining, and sure as hell Hastings and the wind blowing, we're not complaining, so.
I can tell you, there's some complaints in Valley. Yeah, it's not always pleasant.
I want to commend Mike, especially since he's taken over. He just said it, he's really working towards the whole compaction thing, and that was probably one of the biggest complaints I heard of before, that we were not getting the compaction done right. They weren't doing it the way they should. Mike's been very diligent on that with them, so I commend you and I thank you for that.
Well, I kind of started, I didn't know what I was doing, so I'm learning as I go and trying to do the right thing.
Keep it up, Mike. Keep it up.
True.
So the thing I did with this spreadsheet is that we also, you know, and I'm sure Mike's happy to share it with whoever might want to mess around with it, and I can do it here now if anyone wants to see it, but any of these squares in green, you can change that input, right? So you can see, okay, we have an estimated, for the waste, just the waste portion, the garbage portion that's going to the landfill without incineration. Or you don't have much control over the density you get on the ash, because it pretty much impacts, you know, pretty well with minimal effort, but it's really the
Well,
waste piece of it. So if we, you
Take
know.
the earth to zero and show them what it means.
Oh, of course, I do that.
It's,
Yeah, so this will scare everyone. I'm with a faint of heart.
see, it takes our last cell to 2035.
You're basically building a cell every other year.
We're full
You're full in 2035.
in, well,
Without
what's that? It's 2023, so 13, 14 years. So that the earth means a lot, it does.
But even things like, bring this back up to 50. So even this, you know, just if you get this density up to 1,400, we were at 2043 before, you know, that adds
That
another,
gives us another 3 or 4 years.
yeah, another 4 years on the landfill. And the other thing is, so the second tab here is that back in 2009, I think, we permitted a vertical increase on the landfill, right? So to just be able to bring that waste higher up. We only did that, and I really don't know why we did it at the time. I wasn't at that level having those conversations. I was around, but I wasn't having those conversations. But we did a vertical expansion, and it was just through cell 4, so the one that's built now. So that's part of what's kind of led us. We waited a little longer to build 4. 4 got built, but actually sat there for 3 or 4 years, I think, before it got used, because we had that additional height we could keep filling. That doesn't go over the rest of the landfill.
No, that only goes from basically here in the green right to where we are.
Yeah.
The big expansion. that's what, 610, so that's 610 over grade. What's our low grade? I show 480 here.
Yeah.
But then
Oh,
otherwise, we're, what, at 540, I think?
Mhm.
Is that the normal?
Yeah.
So
So-
that adds 60, 70 feet.
And it really, so I did look at the planning, right, if we went and petitioned the DEC to get that vertical increase over the rest of the already permitted footprint, which I guess DEC aside, because right now there's a lot of crazy stuff with the DEC, but it should be a pretty straightforward ask, right? We're not moving, we're not expanding the footprint, we're not changing our limits. We've done the analysis to show that the liner system and everything can handle that additional waste, so I don't think it would be a big ask. But if we did that, then you can see that
It really takes us.
that takes it out to 2068 under the current scenario. So,
So, yeah, we've got our work cut out for us to meet the DEC and do some things. Mike will be here.
So what we talked about is, moving forward, this is showing that we are really going to need to build cell 5 over the summer, next summer, so that in the late fall, winter time, that cell's done and turned over. So first thing in the spring, we can start getting the fluff layer and things in there. But the hope is that once that's built, then we start the process with the DEC, probably as part of the permit renewal. The permit
That'll be
renews.
coming up in 27.
Get that vertical expansion, and then I can actually push off construction at cell 6 for a while if we get that extra height. Sort of how we did it with cell 4 before. So.
Mike already knows my question, we talked before. It says 50% of the waste is reduced by home to earth. What can we do to get that number higher? Get the waste going.
Let's table that question.
Buzzy, you know,
Yeah.
we've already talked.
But I've talked with Phil. Phil and I are going to chat after this meeting. I got some things I want to discuss. So I'll be more prepared to talk about that question in months to come. But I'm trying to get some pieces in place, and like Jillian said, the DEC's playing some games and doing some things which are affecting both sides. So we may have, going forward, I may come to you and we may have to make some tough decisions on some things. And I don't know the entirety what that statement means, but I will be prepared to discuss it when the time comes. But I wanted to get the group, just show you what I've been doing, where I've been spending some of the money, and bring everybody up to speed with exactly what's going on in the landfill. Because I don't know if anybody shared it with you. So this is it. This is what I'm doing. So between that and keeping the earth afloat, that's what I'm concentrating on.
When was the last time we got a report like this?
It's been a long time.
Appreciate it, very good. Thank you.
That's why they need a lot of work out there. Definitely doing a bang.
And I also want to ask if you have any questions about the landfill expansion. We've got the experts sitting here right now. Like I said, the engineering will be started. We want to get bid packages out mid-January, and then I'll be prepared to sit down with this group and we'll figure out the budget and go forward with that. So.
And the other useful part of this too is it helps you with financial planning too, right? Or, when you need to have money set aside for self-construction. We can add closure to this too, but closure's a little more nebulous because there's portions that might be ready to close, just like the side slopes, you're ready to close a lot earlier than the top. Maybe 3 cells down the road, then you bring the whole thing up higher, so you don't want to cap the top yet. Just a little bit, and you have a little more flexibility. You can always tell the DEC, we're not full yet. If you've got 6 inches more to put, you can say we're not full yet, and push that off if you need to budget-wise, right? But the cells, you got to have a place to put waste, so you need to know when you need to be prepared to go for that. So.
You're good.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
First by Legislator Walpole, second by Legislator Twist. All in favor?
I just need the mouse. Department,
Oh.
don't leave, please. I need you to sign budget notes.